Luca, Demna, thank you so much for being with Bloomberg TV today, right here in Florence, where Gucci was born in 1921, more than a century ago. Do you think that today's Capital Markets Day and strategic plan is kind of a rebirth for Gucci?
No, it should be. I think the idea of coming back to the source of the brand is probably the most important in our group. And also to show that this is the beating heart of Kering, right? So because we have plants producing, all the brands, etc. So the heart of the system is here. I think it's very symbolic.
Over the past few years, however, we've seen this loss, Gucci losing a bit of desirability. How do you plan to really revive this? This morning, analysts are a little bit saying your plan is a little bit cautious. What's your reaction to this?
I think you need. It's not a cautious plan. It's a common sense thing, because I think at a certain point in time that we probably made a few, let's say, mistakes on the brand. So we know what we have to do. We know what Gucci is about. We know what the customer wants and expect from Gucci, and we're going to be very, very quick and decisive on providing the people what they want. Maybe also things that they have, they don't know that they want, but Gucci will kind of impose it to the market.
So let's see what they don't know what they want. Obviously, you're an ex-Renault CEO and ex-car CEO. You launched very shiny new models, such as a very successful Renault 5. What is the new R5 iconic product of Gucci?
I don't know, must probably be... I think that what defines in business terms the success of a luxury brand normally is into the leather goods space. So probably, I think it's a long time that Gucci is not, for example, launching an iconic bag or something that stays into the thing. So probably that will be where, I would give the challenge to the team to come up with something that, blows the market away, and hopefully we can make it. But I think it's the whole idea of developing Gucci on many categories. We actually stated that we want to go back to jewelry or watches. Some of them were very iconic products. So I think there is a lot of potential. It's a great brand. It's the second most known brand on the planet in the luxury space. One of the most famous Italian brands. Is still, you say the desirability went down, but still in the top 5 in the market. So it's a good platform.
Of course, we cannot ignore that the short-term situation is difficult. We've seen this week the Middle East fears causing luxury stocks to plunge all across the board. Do you think this short-term uncertainty, geopolitical fears, is making your plan much more difficult than you predicted?
No, I think it's already many years where even the industry is impacted by a strong volatility, also geopolitically everywhere. So this volatility is factored into the plan, because we're trying to build a company that is more agile, that is lighter, etc. Exactly to master this volatility. We believe in the region, in the long-term potential of Middle East. I think long-term it will continue to grow, so we have no hesitation to continue to invest as a very important customer, etc. So, I think, unfortunately, I hope that this thing will, come down very quickly, hopefully, but we believe in the long term that the Middle East will be a key region for luxury.
Even if the aspirational consumer might not be here right now?
In the Middle East, I think you have a lot of people that are in the core category and in the BIC category. This is the heart of the business there.
Obviously, Gucci is 60% of profit, but you have other brands, Yves Saint Laurent, Bottega Veneta, Balenciaga. Obviously, Bottega Veneta, you're looking for a new CEO. You come from the car industry, you've brought a lot of people in. Would you perhaps be looking at an external candidate for Bottega Veneta, someone perhaps from the car industry?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't go so, I didn't go so extreme. I think we are looking at people in adjacent industry, or people that are, proved professional in the luxury world. I think Bottega is a very attractive brand, so we don't have really the issue of, attracting people. But I also want to take, let's say, the time to make the right decision, because leadership at Bottega in our system is a very relevant role. So, but it's not going to last very long before we, kind of communicate about this movement. In the meantime, I don't know if it's reassuring for you, but I'm taking care of the Bottega Veneta team, and I love that brand, and so I'm trying to support them in their phase. But it's a good team that is working together pretty swiftly.
Obviously, at Gucci, we also have Demna, who came as a creative director, did the first fashion show in Milan in February. Dior, Chanel also have new creative directors, which is making the market very competitive. How long are you giving Demna at Gucci?
I think I think one of the issues why Gucci has been more recently in troubles was the lack of stability. In the management team on the creative side, with many changes, and I think it's very important for me that I can assure stability for that team, both on the management side and on the creative side. So no, it's not about this. It's not about giving time or etc. I think we just have to all work together to make sure that Demna can express his full potential. He's one of the greatest of this generation. And he has now in his hands one of the most beautiful brands, in this sector. So I'm pretty optimistic that everything will work. And things well done require time, right? And we want to do good things with Gucci.
This morning you also announced this new deal with ICCF, which is very present in China. There's this debate at this moment about Chinese consumer becoming more nationalistic, buying Chinese products, at least made in China. Is that the rationale behind this?
The rationale is to open a door, in the Chinese market, in the system itself. Having partners and friends that can let us understand what's going on there, even behind the curtain in the whole supply chain, the whole industrial thing, etc. So I think I'm very well placed as an ex automotive executive to understand how important it is to understand what's going on in China, not only on the business side but also on the innovation side, on every single sector. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity to exchange, open up, and support them in their development, but also we feeling more at home in China and be perceived as a company that contributes to the development of the industry there. We also did craft this kind of residence for creative people with very, very good resonance. We're participating and cooperating with the Shanghai Fashion Week to do things. That's part of the story of kind of localizing, our presence everywhere in the world where we are good citizens of each one of the markets. I think China gave us a lot in terms of market, and so we also need to give back, and that's the rationale behind.
Very quickly, because we're running out of time. Obviously, you sold the Kering Beauté to L'Oréal, 4 billion euros. Is that just for cutting debt, or are you still sticking to the plan of increasing your stake in Valentino in 28-29?
I think the two things are independent. I mean, we have reality is that we have a deal for a put call option in 2029, which we postponed, let's say, a couple of years because it was actually practical for both. We had to, we didn't have probably the resources to handle, the landing of a new brand if it would come in 26, 27. They needed time to develop the thing, so it was good for both. And I think with this postponement, I can concentrate on fixing all the things I have to fix. And probably at that horizon, I will be stronger, even from a management bandwidth point of view, to potentially accommodate. So this is the deal on L'Oréal. I think it was partly motivated by the fact that we had to deleverage Kering. But honestly, if I think about it, this kind of construction will help us to boost the development of our brands, because L'Oréal is a fantastic machine, and so I'm sure that what they've done in Yves Saint Laurent can be repeated in other brands. And finally, we'll get a certain amount of royalties, which will help. But also, I think we can benefit of the marketing power machine of let's say, of L'Oréal, that will enable us to give, to create awareness, reach for all our brands, even the one that that are a little bit more niche, like Balenciaga or Bottega Veneta in cosmetics. So I think it's a good deal.
Very finally, how is your relationship with François-Henri Pinault now that the two roles are split? What advice is he giving you?
No, I think a lot of advice, because he has been 20 years at the helm doing my job, so he has seen a lot of situations, so it helps me also to decode based on the information he gives me, let's say, why this thing happened, what is the origin of this or that. It's very, very helpful. So we have a very smooth relation, very fluid, and you know, I think I speak with him like at least a couple of times a week, and you know, now we're flying, you know, together to a place which I don't want to say, but you know, yeah, it's a very, very good to work with him. It's you know, he's doing the chairman, he's right to do that, and you know, I'm the operational guy, and I try to run the machine.
Thank you so much, Luca. Thank you so much for welcoming us here in Florence. Thank you.
Thank you.